Before the observable universe existed, there was Pralaya, the state of dissolution. During this phase, the raw ingredients of reality lay suspended in a dormant form. In this state, physical matter was reduced to a microscopic density that enveloped the infinite, omnipresent consciousness of God. Traityavada models existence on three eternal entities: God, an intelligent field; individual souls, points of consciousness; and Prakriti, raw matter. Prakriti remains in a static equilibrium of three properties: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Until this balance is disrupted, nothing is built. This framework implies that existence is a mechanical reality. It requires specific, eternal ingredients that are assembled and disassembled over time, precluding the possibility of creation from a total void. The Rig Veda describes these eternal entities through the analogy of two birds on a single tree. The tree represents Prakriti, the inert material. One bird represents the soul, consuming the fruits of its actions. The second represents God, observing without being entangled. Transforming this triad into a universe requires three specific types of causes. The first is the efficient cause, the intelligent force directing the assembly. God serves as the primary efficient cause, while the soul acts as a secondary efficient cause. The second requirement is the material cause. This is Prakriti. It provides the raw, inert matter that undergoes transformation. But because it is lifeless, it cannot organize its own structure. The third is the ordinary cause, the necessary environment and tools, such as time and space. Think of a potter. The potter is the efficient cause, the clay is the material cause, and the wheel and studio represent the ordinary causes. By identifying these requirements, the Vedic model establishes the universe as a highly engineered mechanism that requires a separate material cause and spatial environment. Creation begins when God disrupts the equilibrium of Prakriti, gathering the subtle, inert elements from their state of dissolution to initiate a structured assembly. This follows a 24-step mechanical evolution. The primordial cloud of Prakriti first transforms into Mahat, the principle of cosmic intelligence. From Mahat emerges Ahankar, the principle of individuation, which allows for specific, separate identities within the cosmos. Ahankar then branches into 16 distinct components: the 5 tanmatras, the subtle elements of sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, and the 11 indriyas, comprising the mind and the sensory and motor organs. Finally, the 5 subtle tanmatras condense into the 5 mahabhutas, the gross physical elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. This completes the 24-element material structure, with the individual soul entering as the 25th element. This schematic demonstrates that the universe is a structural emanation. Each layer builds upon the previous one, evolving from subtle potential into gross physical mass. Neo-Vedantin theory proposes that in the beginning, only God, Brahma, existed, and that the physical universe is an illusion projected by the divine will. Proponents often cite the spider spinning a web from its own body as proof. However, a spider's conscious soul is the efficient cause, while its physical body is the separate material cause of the web. Under the philosophical rules of Vaisheshika, the core qualities of a material cause must pass into its effect. If God were the material cause of the universe, God would be subject to physical limitations, the sensation of pain, and finite boundaries. These qualities contradict the definition of an infinite, conscious, and blissful entity. Because physical matter is inert and lacks consciousness, it cannot be composed of the same substance as a conscious God. Therefore, the universe is a separate, real creation, not a mental illusion. Faster, clinical pace. Classical logic dismantles 9 atheistic, or Gnostika, propositions regarding the origin of the cosmos. First, the claim that existence emerged from a void. The counter, the entity that identifies the void, cannot be part of that void. Second, the idea that existence comes from non-existence, like a sprout emerging from a destroyed seed. In reality, the material for the sprout was already unmanifested within the seed. Third, the theory that karma alone dictates results. Inert actions have no intelligence. They require an administrator to allocate justice and consequences. Fourth, causeless creation, citing thorns appearing naturally on a tree. The counter, the material composition and genetic instructions of the tree are the specific causes of the thorn. Fifth, the assertion of total impermanence. While assembled structures like bodies degrade, the underlying atoms and the primordial Prakriti remain permanent. Sixth, the claim that gross physical elements are eternal. Their constant decay proves they are assembled effects, not eternal causes. Seventh and eighth, the concepts of zero unity and mutual non-existence. One cannot distinguish between a cow and a horse unless both exist as positive, real entities first. Ninth, the theory of automatic nature, or swabhava. Inert elements lack the intelligence required to self-assemble into complex biological systems without resulting in chaos. These failures highlight the necessity of an intelligent assembler working with eternal, separate materials to produce a functioning universe. To understand this complex assembly, we look to the 6 darshanas, the orthodox philosophies. These 6 schools collaborate as a unified system, each describing a different required facet of the creative process. They function like a team building a roof. To complete the task, you must have action, time, material, knowledge, assembly, and a supreme director. Each darshana explains one of these 6 factors. This engineering extends to the human body, where atomic structures are organized into bones, nerves, muscle, and sensory organs through precise divine design. Once this biological template was finalized, the first implementation of the design followed. Hundreds of fully formed adults were introduced into the high-altitude region of Trevishtop, or Tibet. As this population expanded, they were classified by their merit. Those who were learned and virtuous were named Arya, while those who remained ignorant and destructive were termed Dasim. Conflict eventually drove the Arya south into a specific geographic zone. The texts define the borders of Aryavarta as the Himalayas to the north, the Vindhyas to the south, and the oceans to the east and west. Within this framework, human history and geography are not random occurrences, but the predictable outputs of a cosmic machine operating under unchanging laws. Mythological accounts often claim the earth is supported by the head of the serpent Shasha, or balanced on the horns of a giant bull. The logical counter-question is simple. What supported the serpent's parents, and what held the earth before these creatures existed? These myths are rooted in a literal reading of technical terms. Shesha translates to the remainder. This refers to God, the entity that remains after the dissolution of the universe to support the weight of reality. Similarly, Uksha, or bull, translates to the giver of rain. This refers to the sun, which supports the earth through its gravitational pull while drawing up water from its surface. The texts describe a heliocentric model where planets rotate and orbit the sun. This evidence-based approach refutes older models that imagined the earth as a falling object or suggested the existence of multiple suns. When mythology is stripped away, we are left with a literal description of astrophysics and gravitational mechanics. The term Vasu is used to describe planets, moons, and the sun. It translates literally to that which houses life. Based on the principle that God performs no action without a purpose, these celestial bodies must support life, governed by the same Vedic and physical laws that apply to Earth. The scale of this system is vast. Swami Dayanand Saraswati elucidated that it has been 1.96 billion years since the current creation of the universe and the subsequent revelation of the Vedas. This timeline is part of an infinite cycle known as Pravaha Rupa, the eternal flow. Srishti, or creation, and Pralaya, or dissolution, alternate endlessly, like the expansion and contraction of a heartbeat. The universe operates as an eternal machine governed by unchanging laws. It requires no intervention and leaves no logical paradoxes, functioning as a precise mechanism to facilitate justice and experience for every individual soul.